Thank you all for being here. I represent a district in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, as you undoubtedly know, has the second largest population of Ukrainian Americans in the United States. My district, which is the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, has a very significant Ukrainian American population, and they have shared with me some of their concerns about Russia and its activities in Ukraine. Mr. Fried, if I may, you wrote in your testimony that Putin, like Soviet leaders before him, seeks to weaken the European Union and NATO, and to discredit the idea of democracy as a potentially appealing alternative for Russia. Clearly, the Kremlin does not want Ukraine to succeed in its attempt to transform itself from a Putin-dependent government into a free market democracy that grows closer with Europe, because obviously that would show Russians that if Ukrainians can succeed in such a transformation, perhaps so could they. So what I wanted to ask you is whether you could discuss Russia's strategy to counteract the efforts of nearby countries that are trying to build or expand democratic governments, and what we, the United States, need to do in turn to counteract Russia's efforts to stop democracy in those countries such as Ukraine.
You're right that Russia fears a successful democratic Ukraine, because that would be a body blow, and possibly a fatal body blow, to Putinism. Not to Russia, but to Putinism. Russia's tactics, well, Russia seeks to prevent all of its immediate neighbors, Georgia, Ukraine, from becoming successful modern democracies drawing closer to Europe. They manufacture conflicts, they create border problems, they seize territory. In the case of Ukraine, it was their association agreement that triggered the protests that led to bloodshed and then the Russian intervention. What we can do is help the reformers in those countries. We know how to do this. We did it after 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. We helped the Poles, we helped the Baltic states, we helped the Romanians, and we succeeded. We ought to be getting behind the reformist forces there. The Ukrainians have had trouble maintaining a steady pace of reform. Now they've demonstrated a free and fair election. They're going to have a new president. They're going to have parliamentary elections. General Keane has said this, and I agree with him. We need to help the Ukrainians deliver at home for their people and fight corruption. That was the big deal in the last elections. In doing so, the Ukrainians will generate political capital for themselves, draw closer to Europe, and of all the world's big problems, Ukraine is the one with the greatest chances of a really good outcome for the United States, for the Ukrainian people, and for freedom generally.
And do you believe that U.S. support is critical in order for Ukraine to accomplish that?
U.S. support and European support together.
Okay, thank you. And to Ambassador Fried or Ambassador Newland, since 2014, the United States has used sanctions as a central tenet of foreign policy to counter Russian aggression. And yet, sanctions have not led to Russia's withdrawal from Ukraine, nor did they prevent an escalation of Russian involvement in Syria, or prevent Russia from increasing support to the Maduro regime in Venezuela. How important is it that we coordinate United States sanctions with our European and other allies? And how can we do a better job of coordinating those sanctions? And the last part of this, because time's running out, is what advice would you give to this administration to improve the effectiveness of sanctions?
The last administration coordinated sanctions with the European Union. I was the chief negotiator, so I did this. We may have to escalate our sanctions in support of a Ukraine settlement. If we do so, we should do so with Europe. I hate to say it, but my old office, the sanctions coordinator's office at State, was abolished. You need a negotiator, you need somebody with rank doing it.
Thank you. My time is up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.